Who you been kissing? Hey guys, I am finally back with another video. If you are new here, my name is Alexis, and welcome. Don't forget to press the subscribe button. So today I'm going to do something a little different. I usually don't make videos like this, but I was looking at some of my old videos and I noticed the one where I was talking about pityriasis rosea had a lot of views. And I was like, wow, of course the video where I'm talking about a rash that I had is the one that has the most views out of all of my videos. So it seems like you guys really like videos about health. So I'm going to make another one, but this time we'll be talking about mono. And before I get started, I do want to say, obviously I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you to try anything that I tried. I'm basically just telling you about my experience, what worked for me, what didn't work for me. So you don't have to do what I do. Also, if you're going to be on the internet looking for home remedies, of course, you want to make sure you use your common sense. And like if someone says they cured their mono by jumping off of a tree and breaking their arm, you obviously don't want to do something like that. So be careful when you're online looking for home remedies, of course. So as I was talking about earlier, my video about pityriasis rosea had a lot of views, and it's just like back in 2014 and 2015, I got pityriasis rosea twice, and then I came down with mono. So at this point in my life, I'm just like, okay, my immune system hates me. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. I'm just like, I don't know what I did to make her mad, but she's pissed off and she hates me. She wants me to suffer. Like, what is going on with my immune system? So it just was not a fun time, but I got through it. And I always said that if I found something to help me get rid of mono, I would, make a video or something to help other people out, because I just know how horrible and painful it is. So that's what I am finally doing today, 3 years later, but better late than never. So let's get started. So the nurse/nerd in me feels like we have to start off with a little bit of education. So let's answer the question, what is mono? Mono is short for infectious mononucleosis, and it is caused by the Epstein-Barr virus, which is also called EBV. Apparently EBV is something that a lot of people get, but sometimes they're often asymptomatic. Also, if you get EBV or mono, you may go about 4 to 7 weeks before you start to show any symptoms that you have it. And once you have it, you basically have it for life, but you're not going to always have symptoms. So we're going to take a trip down memory lane and just talk about my experience with mono. So I got it back in 2015 when I was a senior at Duke. It was during the fall semester. So I worked in the gift shops at the Duke Hospital, and this was actually my 3rd year working there, but for the first time ever, they were requiring all employees to get the flu shot. So I've never had the flu shot. I've always avoided getting it because I always hear about people having bad reactions to it. In high school, my dad made me get the nasal mist, but I've never had the actual shot. So I remember this so clearly. Like, that's how traumatic having mono was. I remember the dates so well. So I went and got my flu shot on a Friday, and 2 days later I started to feel like a sore throat coming on. And I just thought it was a flu shot, and as time went on, I just started to feel worse and worse. And I lived on campus, so I would just like walk to work because the hospital was like right next to my apartment. And I remember seeing a dead raccoon on the road, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel how this raccoon looks. Like, that's how bad I felt. And so each day I would just feel worse and worse. Like, the symptoms that I had were just like the flu. I was extremely weak, very fatigued. I literally had no energy at all. I had the worst sore throat of my life. Like, just think about the worst sore throat you've ever had and multiply that by 100. It felt like there were cats just like clawing at my throat. It felt like I had swallowed a bunch of needles. It was horrible. Another thing, like, all I did was sleep, but when I slept, I would this is kind of nasty, I would basically I felt like I was drowning in my own saliva. Like, I would just wake up like every 5 minutes because I had this nasty, thick saliva that just would not stop coming. So yeah, it was really bad. So very painful, the worst thing I think I've ever had in my life. And so I remember on a Thursday, and I believe this was October 1st, 2015 to be exact, I had a quiz in one of my classes, and I didn't study at all the day before because I was just so exhausted. And I just knew I was going to fail that quiz, and I did, but don't worry, I managed to get an A out the class. But as soon as I turned in my quiz, I went to the bathroom, and someone just told me to look at the back of my throat. And I had all these nasty white spots in the back of my throat, and it was my first time ever seeing that on myself. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to go to student health, and I thought I had strep throat. So as soon as I got out of class, I called student health, and they told me to just come on in. So I did, and I remember the nurse tried to get blood so she could run tests, and she was really having trouble. She was like, "You're dehydrated. You need to drink some water." But in my mind, I'm like, "Lady, I wish I could drink some water, but it hurts. My throat hurts so bad. I can't swallow anything. Like I was not eating, I was not drinking anything for like an entire week." So after she finally gets my blood, after trying like 2 times, she swallows the back of my throat, and then I'm just waiting for my results. And I also had to go to work that day, so I just let my manager know, hey, I might be a little late because I'm at student health. So the doctor comes in, and he's like, well, 2 things to tell you, kind of like a good news, bad news thing. And he says, good news is it's not strep throat. So I was like, oh, thank goodness. And then he's like, bad news, it is mono.
Mono, mono, mono.
And I was just like, mono? Like, what do you mean mono? And so he's just like, yeah, mono. So I'm just thinking to myself, how is this possible? I haven't been kissing anybody. I don't share drinks. Like, what do you mean I have mono? And he was just like, well, it's just one of those things. Sometimes you just don't know where it comes from. You just get it. So at this point in my life, I think I only knew of like 2 other people who had ever had mono in my entire 21 years of life. So I just didn't know anything about it. And I still to this day don't know how I got mono. I remember thinking back at that moment to riding the buses on campus, and these buses were huge, but they would get very crowded with so many students trying to get to their classes. Sometimes it would be like chest to chest, and this is when it's starting to get cold, so like everybody is coughing like every 5 seconds. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, somebody probably coughed on my drink or something. So back to the doctor's office, he's telling me, about mono, and then he's just like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm just like, what do you mean there's nothing you can do about it? So I'm having flashbacks to when I had pityriasis rosacea, and they told me that there was nothing they could do about it. So yeah, I just was not happy. I was in a lot of pain, and the doctors told me there's nothing they can do about it. So he basically told me he was going to give me some mouthwash to help numb the pain, and yeah, that was basically it. And he told me that when you have mono, you get this thing called splenomegaly, which is basically an enlarged spleen. So he told me to make sure I didn't do anything crazy like rock climbing or playing any contact sports, because if your spleen ruptures or you get like a hit to the abdomen, your spleen will rupture, and that is a medical emergency. So a lot of people don't go to the hospital for mono unless they are, I guess, like severely hydrated or their spleen is ruptured. So at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, mono is a lot more dangerous than I thought it was. So as soon as I get out, I go to work because the doctor told me I was good to go, and I'm not contagious as long as I don't share drinks or like cough in anybody's face. But on the way to work, I stopped to get my magic mouthwash, and I realized I left my wallet in my apartment, so I couldn't buy it. But when I get to work, my manager was nice enough to give me the money to go get it, and I just paid her back. But I get to work, and I tell my manager and my coworker that I had mono, and my coworker, who was also a Duke student, was just horrified. Like, she reacted as if I said I had Ebola or the bubonic plague. Like, she was like, oh my gosh, I had mono before, I can't ever get it again. And then she started freaking me out because I'm like, oh my gosh, is it really that bad? My manager also said that she had it too when she was younger, so I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not the only one. So I spent the rest of that day just stalking and not interacting with customers, of course. And then I went home and I tried the Magic Mouthwash and it barely did anything, okay? So, I mean, I would try it before trying to eat something or drink water, but it barely did anything. I felt like the best thing that really helped me with pain was Motrin, but that wasn't much help either. So, I continue to have these horrible symptoms and a lot of pain, literally no energy. I can't study, I can't do anything, I can't eat because it hurts so bad, I can't drink water because it hurts so bad. So with the little energy that I did have, I just pulled out my phone while I laid in bed and I tried to do some research about mono. So I tried a couple of things. I tried gargling salt water, that didn't help. I tried drinking warm water, which was okay. The only way I could really drink water was if I really freeze it and it was super cold. I was able to eat a little bit of ice cream, but other than that, I didn't eat for a couple of days. So when people get mono, they often lose a lot of weight because you literally have no energy and it is so painful to eat and drink anything. So I also tried putting apple cider vinegar in my water. Literally nothing was working, and I remember with what little energy I had, I also took a shower this one night, but in the shower I was crying because it hurt so bad and I was just praying like, oh my gosh, God, please help me get rid of this mono. And he answered my prayers, okay? I came across this article on some health forum or something, and this woman said that she put coconut oil on her daughter's toast or something like that. And first of all, I was like, how is your daughter even eating toast when she has mono? With a sore throat from mono, how is that possible? And then some other woman said that she tried it too, and the coconut oil works. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to get this. And somehow I managed to get out of bed and I drove to the store in the cold rain, which was not the best idea, but I got some coconut oil, and you have to get the unrefined, pure virgin coconut oil, the good stuff, okay? So what they did was swallow 2 tablespoons of coconut oil in the morning and at night. So when I finally got it, it was Saturday night. So at this point I've had mono for a week or something. The worst week of my life. So that night I swallowed 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. I kind of just put it in the microwave for 10 seconds so it can melt a little bit, and I swallowed it. And let me tell you, swallowing oil is disgusting, but I did it because I was desperate at this point. I woke up Sunday and I felt so much better. It was a miracle. And I remember that day I actually ate some ramen noodles, typical college student meal. But I was just so happy to be able to eat something for the first time in days. And also that morning I took 2 more tablespoons, and I also did it that night. And by Monday or Tuesday I felt so much better. I was like, oh my gosh, coconut oil saved my life. And I use coconut oil for so many different things, but I just could not believe that all I needed to get rid of this mono was coconut oil. Apparently there's something in coconut oil that helps fight off EBV. I don't know, but it works. So that's all that mattered to me, because I know coconut oil has all these antifungal or whatever properties, antibacterial, I don't know. But whatever is in it, it helped me so much and I couldn't believe it. And so if you remember, I told you guys I went to the doctor on Thursday. He told me to come back a week later, so the next Thursday, I believe October 8th, I went back and he was just like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? And I told him a 9, and he was just like, wow. And I didn't tell him about the coconut oil, but I kind of wish I did, but whatever, at least I'm saying it now. Also at this point in my life, I couldn't find anything on coconut oil. I got so lucky when I found that one article about the woman trying the coconut oil with her daughter, because if I had not found that, who knows how much longer I would have had mono. And I even looked on YouTube recently, and I think there's only one other video out there where someone talks about coconut oil curing their mono, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to make a video too to reinforce this. It really worked for me, and I hope it works for you too. So even though I started to feel better, I made sure I continued to take 2 tablespoons of coconut oil in the morning and at night for at least a week, just so it wouldn't come back, just to make sure it was gone. But yeah, I would say in like 2 or 3 days, I felt so much better. It was a miracle. God answered my prayers. It was just crazy. I could not believe it. I was so glad to be done with it. I finally had energy again. Like, I could go to work, I could study, I could eat. When I tell y'all, I had to make up for like a week where I didn't eat. So once my throat felt better, I ate and I ate and I ate and I ate and I ate. I ate so much. It was just like food, glorious food. It was like I've been starving for like a month. I ate so much. But yeah, I just couldn't believe that this one product was all that I needed to get rid of mono when doctors told me that there's nothing you can do about it. Obviously, if you're allergic to coconut oil or something like that, don't do it. Don't do it just because I said I tried it. I'm just telling you my experience. I don't want y'all mad at me if it doesn't work. But I also did what is called oil pulling. So I kind of just swished the oil around in my mouth for a couple of minutes and then spit it out. Because I was just like, I cannot have this mono come back. I gotta get rid of it. So that's basically my story. Coconut oil was literally all that I needed. It changed my life. It made me so much better. I couldn't believe it because mono was like the worst experience of my life. Pityriasis rosea sucks, but mono was worse. Like, that's something you don't want to wish on your worst enemy. Like, that's how painful it is. You literally have no energy. You can't eat. You can't sleep. It was just horrible. Okay, trust me. So if you have it, I hope you get rid of it soon, because I just know how bad it is. Once again, if you are new, make sure you subscribe because you never know what other random illness I'll get and find a great home remedy for. So yeah, subscribe. That's basically it on my story. I hope that this video is helpful. If you try the coconut oil, I hope it helps you because I just know how bad it is. I hope I never get it again. It is horrible. It's so painful. And I promise I'm not being dramatic. It really is that bad. But that's it for today. Oh wait, one more thing that I do want to talk about is the stigma that comes from mono, because I didn't care about telling people I had mono. I was just like, whatever, I got it. What am I going to do about it? But my mom was like, are you telling people you have mono? And I'm just like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But there's like a lot of stigma around illnesses, and mono is one of them. Because it's like every time someone finds out you have mono, they'll just be like, ooh, who you been kissing? And I'm just like, I haven't been kissing anyone, okay? You can get mono in other ways besides kissing people. Or sharing drinks with them. And also, while we're on the subject of stigma, when I was in college, I was in this group that did free HIV testing, and I just remember people would walk by our tables and they wouldn't make eye contact. Like, it's just crazy, the stigma around certain illnesses. And if you know someone has something, just keep in mind that they're human just like you. You don't know how they got it. It doesn't make them dirty. It doesn't make them promiscuous. So we really need to work on getting rid of the stigma and the negative ideas around certain illnesses, and we need to treat people how we want to be treated. I just want to throw that in there. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Once again, if you are struggling with mono or know someone who is, I hope that you and your loved ones get better soon. I will catch you guys in the next video. Have a lovely day.